Welcome to Letters to Important People, a podcast dedicated to unearthing the suppressed histories of Indigenous Britain, we First Nation Aboriginals of this land whose voices have been marginalised, our stories suppressed, and our cultural significance obfuscated in the maelstrom of modern narratives. Inspired by the literary genius of Sir Vididhar Surajazad Naipaul, whose 2001 Nobel Prize in Literature recognised his ability to compel us to confront the presence of suppressed histories, this podcast takes up the mantle of challenging historical erasure. Here, we ask, if the histories of distant lands deserve recognition and restoration, why has Britain's own ancient lineage been consigned to shadows? I speak to you as the head of an ancient family, one of many rooted in the heart of Cumberland, the geographical centre of mainland Great Britain. From this central vantage point, amidst the echoes of our ancestors, we are uniquely positioned to radiate knowledge outward, revitalising the heritage that binds this land's First Nation to its rightful place in history. This podcast is created and managed by me, Anthony Harrison, whose official name under coat of arms is Harrison of the North of Branthwaite. I live in the shadow of Dent Fell, the first fell on the west to east coast-to-coast walk that bisects this great country in two. From here, in this place steeped in history and tradition, we step eastward in search of the rising sun, a metaphorical journey toward enlightenment, renewal, and the rediscovery of Britain's Indigenous soul. Each episode will feature a powerful letter written to those in positions of influence, from policymakers and academics to cultural leaders and custodians of public opinion. These letters, read aloud and contextualized, serve as calls to action, urging recognition of the Indigenous Britain's profound legacy, and challenging the rapidly failing ideologies that threaten to dissolve the rich tapestry of this nation's past. For those seeking further information, I have written extensively on these subjects, offering books that illuminate both the depth and breadth of this topic. For non-political perspectives suitable for all ages, I recommend The Secret Cipher of Chalice Well, which floods light upon our Arthurian and Celtic past, if ever those two subjects can be separated. One accolade of this book is its revelation that the Vesica Pisces symbol overlaying Chalice Well in Glastonbury serves as a secret cipher, pointing to the exact location of the ancient henge known as King Arthur's Round Table. Using this mechanic of solving ciphers, the book encourages readers to see themselves as explorers of ancient secrets waiting to be rediscovered. It poses intriguing questions, like, who is the Lady of the Lake? And how do her mysteries interweave with the ciphers of evangelism? For deeper insights, The Secret Cipher of Edward the Confessor unravels the secret of his deathbed dream of 1066, framing it within the context of Britain's four great Arthurian prophecies and its relevance to King Charles III. Similarly, The Secret Cipher of Why There Are Ravens in the Tower of London examines the Celtic symbol under which we have historically gone to war, exploring how it represents resilience and triumph over adversity, a message especially poignant today. For adults ready to delve further, my book The Ascent of Arthurian Britain traces our rise from the last ice age, equipping us with Churchill's insight: the farther backward you can look, the farther forward you are likely to see. This book challenges us to examine our ancient past, strip away the veneers that obscure our heritage, and recognize our place in history. On a culinary note, the Salmon Baptiste considers how the tributaries of our past, culinary traditions included, guide us into the future, exploring the foodways that shaped us. Reclaiming our heritage isn't merely an intellectual pursuit, it's a living practice that restores our ability to honor the ancestors who made us who we are today. Finally, my Raven Law series is my raw, unpolished Churchillian contribution to Britain's narrative, a reflection of what 1,000 years of heritage can contribute to this land. It opens the door for others to join this journey, leaving a legacy for future generations to build upon. With these resources at hand, I hope the calls to action within this podcast will grow in momentum, peeling back the veneers of marginalisation and suppression to expose the brilliance of our shared history. Join us as we honour the heritage of Indigenous Britain, one letter at a time, ensuring its rightful place in the story of this great nation. Let the journey begin. The following anthem was written and produced for this podcast, but it is dedicated as a call to action for anyone who takes up the mantle of challenging our historic erasure. It is available everywhere where music is distributed, so please share it widely as part of this cause.
The shadow of the fells side of adversity to the other at last. With the strength of our ancestors, we're breaking free. Ravens across the sky, reclaiming our legacy. The past may be hidden, the truth may be lost, but we carry the torch, no matter the cost. From the mountains to the valleys, from shore to shore, our spirits unbroken, we're fighting for more. With the wind in our wings and the fire in our eyes, we've been hidden too long, now it's time to rise. We'll tear down the walls that keep us apart, reclaiming the truth that lives in our hearts. We are ravens, we rise from the ashes of past, from one side of adversity to the other at last. With the strength of our ancestors, we're breaking free. Ravens across the sky, reclaiming our legacy. The ancient symbols, the dreams of the past, we carry them forward to make them last. From the hills to the cities, the rivers and trees, we are the echoes, the whispers on the breeze. We are ravens, we rise from the ashes of past, from one side of adversity to the other at last. With the strength of our ancestors, we're breaking free. Ravens across the sky, reclaiming our legacy. So fly, fly ravens, soar high and wide. With the strength of our ancestors, we cannot hide. From the shadows we rise, from the dark we depart. Ravens across the sky, forever in our hearts.
Ravens Across the Sky is more than a song, it is a call to action for every Indigenous Briton to rise against marginalisation, suppression and obfuscation, those MSOs that have hidden our truths for too long. It urges us to reclaim our heritage by creating and sharing Indigenous proofs, authentic works that restore our history, culture and connection to this land. Indigenous proofs come in many forms: books, songs, poetry and performances, and show the richness of our heritage. This anthem calls creators across all mediums to join in this mission.
In the shadow of the fells, where the winds they blow, we stand like the ravens where the old songs grow. Ancient voices whisper, lost in the breeze, tales of our ancestors carried on the seas. Through the silence of time, we've been left in the dark, but we rise with the dawn, we ignite the spark. From the heart of this land, we begin our flight, carried by the raven's wings into the light. We are ravens, we rise from the ashes of past, from one side of adversity to the other at last. With the strength of our ancestors, we're breaking free. Ravens across the sky, reclaiming our legacy.
The following about the author passage is an excerpt included in most books published by Harrison of the North of Branthwaite. This text is subject to copyright protection as part of those works, including but not limited to the Secret Cipher of Chalice Well, the Secret Cipher of Edward the Confessor, the Secret Cipher of Why There Are Ravens in the Tower of London, the Ascent of Arthurian Britain, the Salmon Baptiste, and the author's Ravenlaw series of books. Included in many of Harrison of the North of Branthwaite's books are original poems and songs that have also been released as standalone works. For example, the song The Salmon Baptiste accompanies his book The Salmon Baptiste. These pieces are distributed through DistroKid to a wide range of platforms, including but not limited to Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok and other ByteDance stores, YouTube Music, Amazon, Pandora, Deezer, Tidal, iHeartRadio, Claro Musica, Savn, Boomplay, Angami, NetEase, Tencent, Qobuz, Jukes, Kuak Media, Adapter, Flow, and MediaNet. These creative works extend the thematic and artistic reach of his books, offering audiences a multimedia experience that enhances their connection to the narratives. About the author: Anthony Harrison, Harrison of the North of Branthwaite. Photo with the caption, May Day celebrations at Penrith, no amount of rain will wash Anthony away. Family background: the author, by coat of arms, Harrison of the North of Branthwaite, belongs to a distinctive Indigenous class in the county of Cumberland, Great Britain, known as statesmen. This group constitutes numerous native inhabitants of Cumberland who are recognized as statesmen, where the patriarchal heads of these families are called a statesman. By large, these statesmen settled in Cumberland post-945 AD when it was part of Scotland, who underwent a process of naturalization over 3 generations, evolving into Britons. Their patriarch eventually attained the status of clan chief. However, following Cumberland's return to England under the Treaty of York in 1237 AD and the subsequent decline of Norman French as the primary language of governance in England, they came to be known as statesmen in English. This naming evolution traces back to the original Old Welsh that was spoken in Cumberland, where the term pencenedl denoted a leader or chief, translating to head of the kindred or chief of the people, clan. During Scottish rule over Cumberland, this term translated into the king's tongue as Orchinad or Cynad na Clanna in Scots Gaelic, signifying leader of the clan. This naming transition then continued through Norman French, which the New English kings adopted after the Norman conquest, signifying chief of the clan or chief of the family, culminating in the adoption of the English term statesman by around the 14th century. In Cumberland, the rank of statesman equates to that of a clan chief in Scotland, and these terms are now interchangeable in English. This equivalence aligns with the concept that a clan chief originally presided over their own client state in Scotland between 945 and 1237 AD. During this period, the King of Scots recognised no difference between the chiefs of Cumberland and the chiefs of Strathclyde. His acknowledgement of them as leaders of their respective client states reflected his system of power brokering that accommodated the wave of an influx of numerous new leaders and their retinues from distant lands into Cumberland and Strathclyde, becoming an intrinsic part of the Celtic system during that era. The origin story of the Harrisons of the North is quite interesting, who arrived in Cumberland in 1056 AD, hailing from the region around Tongeren, the oldest city in modern-day Belgium, who rose from the remnants of the Celtic Tungri tribe, springing forth from their ancestor, the Duke of Habsburg, who, although formerly a Celtic bishop, became an ecclesiastic prince when acquiring the responsibilities of a departing Roman commander as a hereditary role when the Western Roman Empire was collapsing. Because of this heritage, these Harrisons, whose branch of the Habsburgs meant golden strength, acquired the territorial epithets of the Norths when royal heralds needed it to distinguish them from other Harrison-sounding names who were merely sons of Harry. As such, the name Harrison of the North is connected to their coat of arms. The author, Anthony, the present head of this ancient family, has followed in his father's footsteps as an Indigenous land rights activist, who, just like his father, who served in 22 SAS, the Blues and Royals of the Household Cavalry, and MI5, also has Special Forces experience. He has served as a commissioned officer in the regular army, served proudly with the Honourable Artillery Company in London, and developed quite a reputation for supporting Indigenous land rights when running the Cumbric Revival Community Forum in the Noughties, whom BBC Radio Cumbria occasionally interviewed. Anthony appeared on First Dates in 2017, and, in his own words, he still needs an heir and a spare. If Anthony is to be compared with someone, it should probably be Eddie Mabo, an Australian Aborigine with little education and a rural upbringing, who started an Indigenous land rights movement that resulted in over 593 million acres being returned to the Australian Aborigines. Anthony is cut from the same cloth, who, as a First Nation Aboriginal of Cumberland, is seeking similar restitution for every native of Cumberland who has been in Cumberland for more than 3 generations, but in their own uniquely Indigenous context. He is fearless, stands the ground of his fellow Mora without question, and is one of few specialists with such vibrant perspective and depth of knowledge about Cumberland's Indigenous affairs. It was Anthony who discovered that the secret symbol of the Red Dragon at Glastonbury identifies the exact location of King Arthur's Round Table. Read about this, including 12,000 years of British history, in the author's children's book The Secret Cipher of Chalice Well. It's also a book for adults.
The fells where the winds they blow, we stand like the ravens where the old songs grow. Ancient voices whisper, lost in the breeze, tales of our ancestors carried on the seas. Through the silence of time we've been left in the dark, but we rise with the dawn, we ignite the spark. From the heart of this land we begin our flight, carried by the raven's wings into the light. We are ravens, we rise from the ashes of past, from one side of adversity to the other at last.
The right of Harrison of the North of Branthwaite to be identified as the author of this work has been asserted by him in accordance with the Copyright, Design and Patent Act 1988. All rights reserved. This podcast is protected by copyright law. No part of this recording may be reproduced, stored, or transmitted in any form or by any means, including electronic or mechanical, without the express written permission of the author.